Good morning. So I'm excited about today's discussion. So today I was thinking of talking about what exactly is reincarnation. And so there's a lot of ideas about it, and there's a lot of obviously talks about it. The Buddhists kind of put their stamp on it, but I'd like to hear your take on it.
Well, you see, there is different way uh, to relate to our self, our physical self, and our soul journey, our energetic self. You see, if we relate us as a physical body and look at ourselves as who we are in this life, the only way we relate to a soul on a continuous way is following the concept of reincarnation. That means we were there before and we will be there in the future after our death. But my way of looking at it is that, well, first of all, we have a reality that is true and we relate to, and it's limited from our soul reality, because the soul is connected to a higher dimension and is at the level of much broader consciousness than our physical body. So that means our reality as who we are is small part of that larger reality, and in a way is an illusion that we call a reality by and being ignorant from the bigger picture that is the soul picture. Through that
Excuse me.
through that illusion, we want to understand many things, and then we say, well, we reincarnate, we die and we reincarnate to something else, and all those things. So, or we have reincarnated to who we are today. So this is a way of explanation. It's simple, like reincarnation is a simple explanation of our soul journey related to us, which the soul journey cannot relate to us. Actually, we relate to the soul journey because we are a smaller part of it. So I didn't answer your question because your question was so simple. I just expanded it to make it more more connected to what it is than on a small window of the way we look at it. So, what other question you have?
Well, okay, so let me expand on what you're saying. So, for example, the Buddhists, they believe that when you pass, there's a window of where you take on another body.
Okay.
So, the soul, is it the soul that jumps from one body to the next? And does the soul choose the body, or does it just automatically go to the next body?
Well, again, I'm going to have a problem answering this. It's not that it's a problem. You see, you're looking at vocabulary and understanding, a physical vocabulary, physical understanding, trying to explain what the soul does. You see, there is no choice at at the soul level. Soul doesn't understand choosing something or not choosing something. So it's not, it's like in many religion they put God a characteristic of a human, and through that they want to relate or understand God with good characteristics of a human. But at that level, there's no characteristic, and what we're choosing or not choosing, the human characteristic that come from an ego, doesn't exist at the soul level. So the question itself is irrelevant. The soul just does what it needs to do, and we relate to an understanding of what it does through a bunch of words or a belief system, could be Buddhist or anybody else.
Okay.
Any other system, to just understand it, but it's not really true. It's like the way you want to explain the Einstein relativity theory to a 6-year-old kid. You just put it in a way that they understand. And the way you're asking or explaining, and the way people needed to be explained in the past and to understand, is not really the way it is. And it's not off there, but we cannot really ask question, what does soul do? Because it's just soul doesn't have an ego to act or does certain things in certain window. There's no windows, In soul level, there's no windows. There's no limitation. There is no any of those. How can a soul chooses a window or chooses or choose anything? These are all
so it's
questions which doesn't qualify to be at the soul level. Yeah.
So what I'm gathering is that you're saying that the soul just needs to do what it needs to do. It just goes from one body to the next, like a sequence.
Well, again, the soul takes on any body, and you see, when you say the soul goes from one body to another, that vocabulary means that the soul is smaller than your body. But it's not.
No, definitely not.
A soul connect or takes different body in its journey. Yes.
Okay, so I believe through Hindu teachings or even the Buddhists, they say there's 60 days of where the soul has time to go into this different realm and then come back into the realm, the 3D dimension. How do you feel about that? Where does the soul go when it passes?
Well, I guess today we're gonna have me not answering any of the questions, just correcting things. But I'm gonna make some comments. Yeah. You see, there is no time at the soul level. So there's no such a thing as soul doesn't understand 60 days of anything.
Right.
So that is one setup. And secondly, to come back to a physical body, why does it need to? You see, well, let me explain something rather than answering these questions. Let me say something else totally. But it relates to these questions that you asked. You see, on the way we relate to anything is a dimension. For example, you relate to my shirt. Well, it's cotton, you don't know, but I know it's one dimension being cotton. The flowers on it is another dimension. The color of it is another dimension. I'm wearing this. Any way you relate to my shirt is a dimension. So that is how we say dimension when we relate to things. For example, I am sitting here. Most people look at the external dimension of anything, which is a geographical location, and that is my XYZ dimension. Of course, in science, if I turn anywhere, there is a rotational dimension. There's so many ways that you can relate. At conscious, full conscious level, God's level, whatever you want to call it, all these many dimensions are divided. It's not division, it's classical, like a color of blue. Blue is not divided from any color, but it's a range of frequency that we call it blue. So there are 12 range of dimensions. The human understanding is more on an external basis, and the scientific way has worked to come up with a geographical dimension to have an XYZ coordination and XYZ dimension, and then after to make understanding why universe work the way it does. For example, I'm sitting here now and I'm turning here now. It's just some time passed. The only way we could understand scientifically changes is through time. Basically, 3 dimensions we relate to, X, Y, Z, and 9 that we don't, we call it time. For everything to make sense in our limited mental capacity and understanding capacity. So, if you look at me as a person, you see a 3-dimensional being. Of course, through that camera, you see a 2-dimensional being, because in the camera, I only have 2 dimensions. You cannot see my depth. And from that picture or camera, you always can see who I am. You know, this is Abdy. If you take one more dimension away from me, what you get a line. From a line, you never know who or what I was. That means when we miss more than 2 dimensions from what we can relate to, we have no concept of what it is. So, as a 3-dimensional being that you can relate to that I am, and if you see 1 dimension, you don't know what it was. That means in a 12-dimensional realm of universe, with 3-dimensional understanding, we don't know anything and we can't relate to anything because we are missing 9. So through our limitation, we try to make sense of how universe works, how things work, how life works, how reincarnation works, how soul works, through a very small relation, which cannot be explained. Because, for example, if I just use XYZ coordination and I want to explain that I'm turning around, you cannot relate to it because the rotation, the only way you can relate to it is because my background is changing. But if I didn't have this background, you wouldn't know any difference because you always see that face. So, in a 12-dimensional understanding, to relate to anything beyond our 3-dimensional, in a 12-dimensional universe, with 3-dimensional understanding, to relate anything beyond that 3 dimension, we simplify everything to make sense in a 3-dimensional ignorance, it's a word that I would use, and everything is minimized and put there. It's like if I when you look at me, you see all the colors. If you put a lens of blue, all you see is blue because you eliminate every other ray. The lens absorbs it, and the same thing happened here now. At the soul level, it's 12-dimensional, and now you want to reduce it to 3 dimensions. And then you want to find out what happens to other dimensions and other things when they have no relationship to these 3 dimensions. They're beyond these 2 dimensions that we can understand. So it cannot be a conversation about it even, because you cannot have conversation about something that you cannot relate to. So I hope I could explain why I cannot answer the questions that you're asking the way you wish.
Okay. All right. So let's ask a simpler question. Do you believe in reincarnation?
Do I believe in reincarnation? Of course. Of course. I believe in everything.
But do you know it to be real? Have you felt that yourself?
No, I never felt anything. Have you felt reincarnation?
Well, I've seen past lives.
Well, you assume that you have seen your past lives or other past lives. That's an assumption you make, and you make that assumption that is correct.
No.
How do you know if you see something's past life?
Just, I see myself. I can see my soul in that body.
Yeah, but how do you know it's past life?
The time.
But maybe the time, maybe. I'm not saying there's no past life, or you didn't have that experience.
I understand what you're saying, though.
Maybe what you saw on those bodies, maybe it's future. How do you know?
Right.
But yeah.
It was another body. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Again?
So, have you experienced that for yourself?
No. I never had a past life experience. But I know there is one situation that I was in Jerusalem at Jesus' tomb, and I had some connection and some situation. Once some synapses and some visions, and I know. And I know that, I know it was real, and I got what I needed to get. But to go confirm the past lives and all those things, I had no feeling of it. It's something downloaded in many seconds, and those visions, I saw certain things. But to have a feeling about it, no. It was, you see, again, I'm going to go to dimensions.
Okay.
When we relate to anything that is not three-dimensional, we try to filter it to that three dimension. So there is an energetic sequence that we can connect to, and then we filter it to the way we understand. And the way we understand is through us, through time, through clothing, through physics, which whatever we relate to is 100% true. There's nothing not to believe. But it is our understanding of it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be exactly as we see.
Right. I understand completely.
And I don't relate to those. As I said, I had only one situation that I could feel it. It was less than a minute, maybe a minute. Yeah.
It's like a flash.
A flash is it? It's like a
movie flashes. Yeah. And you say you felt no emotions in the.
Well, it was very emotional. It was very powerful. Actually, it has impacted my life immensely. But to have a feeling of it, you asked me if I can feel my past life. I said no. One of the reason I have agreed to have these interviews with you is because not so much about the interview or understanding of people, is about opening a new way of looking at everything and challenging the vocabulary and our understanding. Actually, many years ago, I wanted to do a book. Somebody wanted to do a book, and I wanted to be part of it, and I wanted to challenge our vocabulary, because the main part of a book is vocabulary, and I want to challenge how we relate to things, which is not quite true. We connect to everything based on a conditioning of a word, that word can be only our conditioning. And the same word can have different conditioning to different people, and you create a book or a sentences which is totally conditional based on our understanding and has nothing to do with what is carried. So, and feeling, for example, the reason I picked on that word was one of those words because what is a feeling? What I mean,
Well,
to feeling and what do you think the
it's
definition?
hard to
What's feeling?
explain.
Huh?
It's you know, the dictionary, I don't know how to explain it. Feeling is like a sensation, right? But people have feelings through their minds. People have feelings through emotions. People have feelings, you know, physical feeling like hot, cold, things like this.
Well, exactly, all those things. So feelings is basically an interpretation.
Yeah, it's an interpretation.
So,
well, I guess
have I interpreted about my past life? No.
Right.
No, I answer your question based on all these explanations.
Okay. So, do people so the thing is, when I'm talking about reincarnations, because we talked about karma last week, right? And so we discussed how the word karma doesn't exist. There's no karma. It's just one long sequence of existing.
Yeah, but that is karma. The word karma.
Right, that is karma to you.
Exists. The word exists. I mean, that's why you and I to talk about it. Not even cool. It does exist, but that is my understanding of that word is just that full sequence. But it's not that it doesn't exist. Of course, it does exist. Otherwise, you wouldn't talk about it.
Well, it doesn't exist as people think it is. It does exist, right? It's a different understanding. So, with reincarnation, I wonder, is there a fresh start? I know there's no karma, so there's nothing to let go per se, but is there a fresh start? Do you start over? Or do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that's why I'm understanding how I'm going to poke you again.
I know you are.
What is a fresh start? I mean, again, our condition to a fresh start is like a clean sheet. And was it not good enough before the fresh start?
So what I'm trying to say is, do we carry on any energetics with us from body to body to body?
Yes. You see, our soul as an energy continues in different physical bodies until it doesn't need to anymore.
Right.
And does it need to have a fresh start? No. Because there is, at the soul level, nothing is ever fresh. Everything is tight and connected.
Tied and connected, yes.
You know, there is never, every second is different than another second.
Right.
If we do this again, this second is never the same in the whole universe. And even if I don't move, even we just look at each other, it's not ever the same. So nothing ever becomes fresh. Everything always continues. Of course, continuity is based on concept of time too.
Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, I have concept of time in my understanding of life and everything else, and relation to everything that I relate to. But on a soul level, it just everything exists at all time, everywhere, now.
Yes. So I had visions of just life in general. So I don't know if you've heard of the term Akashic records.
I heard, yes.
So they're records of the soul. Sequences or kind of like, I call them files of the soul, like events of the soul, main events. So I'm able to look at these things, and sometimes I can look into a sequence or an event of the soul, and I see that there's no time. It's just a string, like almost like a film strip. And each box, each square is the event, and I could just tap into that event and pull it out and see what's happening in that event. So I see that, like you said, there's no end and stop time. There's no end and there's no beginning. It's just loops, like it's infinite. So does that record ever does it just disappear when it doesn't need a body anymore, the soul? Because those records are attached to the soul.
Well, again, what you call record is a physical and mental understanding of human to relate to something like a record. But in energetic system and full consciousness, there is no record really. We call it record to understand that.
Yeah, well, my mind understands it.
What I'm going to answer to you. In energetic system, everything is interrelated. Never anything disconnect, anything attaches. Is a way of everything is interrelated. It's like making a soup. If you make a soup, you have everything in it, and when you cook it, you get the essence of everything is in everything else. That is the connection. And the consciousness and all our, what you want to call it, record, is a part of a soup that is all interrelated. I generally don't relate to concept like Akashic record. Not that I deny its existence and it's the way it's explained. I have no problem with it. But I personally don't relate to a system trying to make an understanding on a human level. I don't need to be understood, and I don't want to create that understanding of a system of understanding. To me, all the question you're asking, it is a way of understanding something externally, so the ego, so okay, I know that too. But the real format of understanding is through connecting internally to something that there is no need for question.
Well, then we would have nothing to say.
Well, maybe that's true.
The reason why I bring it up is so, I know a lot of people have these experiences, and so I'm trying to give them something to relate to. You know, I'm not trying to boost my ego, I'm just trying to create content for them to connect to. And
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's not about boosting ego. You see, ego, well, first of all, I'm gonna say it's not the purpose of what we're doing here is just what we're doing exactly.
Right.
So, and that's what I'm saying. It's not answering your question. It's about how you relate to everything, and we are relating. So, and it does it. So you can ask a million questions. I might not answer any of them, but none of them are wrong. they are all designed in your head to be reflected the way I am reflected on something. I'm reflecting on something. And the whole thing is about sharing the way you reflect on things. It's not about knowing an answer. It's about how you reflect on everything. And then when you have that reflection, we realize there's no question. There never be a question. So, and now going back, you said your ego, boosting an ego, there's no such thing. Again, I mean, ego, all to me, there's many layers of ego that you can, whatever, judge or whatever. But ego is simply our way of judging existence in a way we can relate to it. Of course, judging is not a bad word because our mind needs to judge.
Mm-hmm.
The way we classify everything, we judge this density, we judge that is different, we judge things of its differences and to classify it the way we understand. That is our ego and there's nothing wrong with it.
That's right.
And a lot of people have problems, for example, with the word judgment. There's nothing wrong with the judgment.
That's right.
Connect that judgment conditioned by, oh, okay, we shouldn't judge. Or because we have heard that if you have judge, it's the preconceived understanding or belief system about somebody or something. But that's a limited way to look at judgment.
Yeah.
And the way you explain boosting ego is a very small, limited way to look at ego. There's nothing to be boosted or there's nothing to not to be boosted. Simply, ego means to confirm our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're doing, you're trying to confirm that reality of Akashic record or whatever, or is it? But that reality is an illusion itself. So what I'm doing with you is poking the reality.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and poking any reality, not that.
Not just mine.
Exactly. I'm poking everybody's ego, including myself, because everything is beyond what we perceive. Every word is beyond what's here.
Yes.
And that is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And as more you have adopt a concept like Akashic record, which does exist, everything does exist. Anything you know, it exists.
Right.
Otherwise, you would know it.
Exactly.
But at what level you relate to its existence?
Right. It's how you relate. Your mind relates to it.
You can, that there is oxygen in the air. Definitely. But do I relate to it and do I need to relate to it? Not really.
Right.
I can sit here and try to tap into the smell of the air and what it brings to me, or trying to analyze how much oxygen it does have. What difference does it make? That analytical way.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the difference. And the question you're asking is trying to confirm the oxygen in the air, which I can simply say yes, but
that's where science comes in, I guess.
Well, it's not about science. I use that as a science is a way of trying to explain something to understand. And Akashic record, understanding of Akashic record is the same.
That's what I'm saying.
You want to explain something, you understand.
You're trying to make a science of it.
Yeah.
Instead of relating to it energetically.
Well, exactly. And if you relate to anything, the details of it might not be as important.
Right. Because they're not even, the details of it are not even the ultimate truth.
Well, whatever.
Okay. All right. So, have you ever felt that? Let's go back to these things called the files, right? These records or whatever. So
I'm going to stop you right there. Asking, feeling, I don't have feeling, I don't relate to feeling, and definitely you cannot feel a file. File is a mental understanding to something, you cannot feel a fire.
Well, I'm not saying that you can feel it.
Huh?
I wasn't saying that if you could feel it, but what I was trying to ask you is if you can actually, if the soul, how is the soul connected to it?
Well, well,
How is the soul
a
connected?
simple accent with a cable and a plug.
I don't know about that.
Come on. How is the soul connected to anything?
Well, it depends
There is
what's
no
connected.
disconnection. If there is no disconnection, there is how it's connected.
Here's what I'm trying to ask you, okay?
No, you're asking a question that you're gonna get the same answer because you are trying. You are not working on a bigger concept. You want from small little thing in your mind. You want to get to the bigger picture, and it doesn't go anywhere.
No.
Because
I don't think you understand. So what I'm trying to get to is what differentiates one soul from the next.
Say it again.
What differentiates my soul from your soul?
Okay. You know, I have many things to say about the question again.
Yes.
But I won't because it's been too long. I just answer it. I have to erase many things and make it in a simple level. So for many of you listening, it's not. I want to say it differently in the future, but I just go with it as in a kindergarten level, and I answer it in a kindergarten way. There is not the differentiation comes from the mind. Mm-hmm. There is everything is together. Your soul and mind. Yes. Everything in the universe is all connected. Mm-hmm. The disconnection comes from our physical body only. For us to relate and understand the part of the whole universe, God, whatever you want to call it, that is closer to us, like this branch of this bush that is closer to me, I can relate to it easier, or whatever. I'll call that mice, but it's no mine or whatever. It's just the part that it's been related to who I am now and whatever you call it mine.
Yes.
So, and each cell of a body is in one format or another format connected. One format could be next to each other, and it has membranes that separate its function. In a bigger format, even though if they are not beside each other, they still go through the blood and they have the same connection. So there are some way of differences in an energetic rays, like different ray of the light. We can from time to time you can see it as a disconnected rainbow. Most of the time we see it as a whole light. Each of us are related to different frequency of the whole energy, and the difference in the frequency is a way of differentiation of one to another in our mental way.
So sometimes when I'm in higher, I don't know, higher expansion or, deeper awareness, I feel like I'm just a drop in the ocean. And everyone is just a drop in the ocean. Everything and everyone. We're all part of this united field. And so I can relate to what you're saying when you're saying that there is no separation between the souls. Because we're just that drop of water in the ocean, in the vast ocean. But But so you're saying the mind creates the separation and the duality of existing, and so it does that as well with the soul.
Yeah, because our mind is set up to create certain relation to everything else, and that's how our ego come to effect. And that relation, it needs to have boundary and separation to classify things the way you understand.
Right. So the ego creates identity.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Not only for us, for everything else too.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we are about to run out of time. I know you want to keep these 55 minutes long.
No, you can go. You can go a bit longer if you want to. I don't mind. It's if you want to get some juice.
All right. It's challenging for me because you kind of corner me with the questions. So I'm like,
and I'm very happy that you are doing it, and I'm cornering you. I'm very happy. I'm cornering everybody, the whole humanity, everybody.
I know.
Through you.
I know.
I'm happy that you're representing many people to be cornered.
Yes, I am. Yeah. So people should give me lots of pats on the back, huh?
Well, I don't know about that, but probably.
Good job, Val, for getting cornered.
You see, it's not about you or I.
Yes.
When you mentioned we're gonna do this, and I said okay. Main reason is sharing the way I relate to everything. Not about understanding, not teaching anything, not answering any secret. Basically, there is no secret, there is no unanswered question, and a lot of things. I cannot teach anybody anything. What I'm trying to do is sharing my essence in a way of people to relate to that essence within themselves and get to where they need to get, realizing they're not missing anything and there is no question. And if there is a question, it's okay not to know the answer, and also the answer is much easier than what they think it should be. Mm-hmm. So it's more tapping to understanding of self and its power of its completion, and not needing to be anything more, understand anything extra. Basically, we don't miss anything. So I'm sharing that relation to self and everything else through these conversations. And that's the only way. There's many ways to do that through stage, but on a verbal way. So it's not about, getting the right answer. It's not about getting the wrong answer. It's not about having understanding. Actually, the greatest understanding comes with confusion. If you understand something so simple and so right away, it's just your ego wanted to have it easy and say, oh, I got it. You say, oh, I got it. That means, your ego was satisfied to have the understanding. But everything is much bigger than a person, me, a person, just get it. But you can connect to everything. I don't know what is in this garden here. I don't. But I know anytime I look at anything, I can see what's there. I never needed to know what's here. But if I need to see, I see. And everybody have that. I have it too. And I'm sharing how I use what I have that most people don't use.
So you have a hard time coming down to the lower dimensions. You always speak from a higher place. So it's very difficult for you to come down to the lower dimension because you don't experience it that way.
That's not correct. No, I'm a lower dimension. I mean, I live in a lower dimension. Everybody does, you know. I relate to everything. I get angry. I get upset. Not as often as other people. Maybe some of it I get more often than other people. But it just the way I judge myself and others what is correct and not different. But I live my life through the same dimension that everybody else live. However, I trust and I know this is not important. So if at any time I want to go deeper to importance of something, I go a bit higher and reflect on whatever that I'm experiencing on this lower dimension through
higher awareness.
And then everything dissipates, and then there is a new scenario. Human needs to deal with everything through this lower dimension. That's why we have our mind. That's why we have our ego, and it's part of a physical journey. There's nobody who is excluded, including me, including everybody else. I know people wanted I wanted to include some names to say, but I don't want people, get some religion, get offended. But people want to have put certain person on a pedestal. So, oh, this person is an avatar and connected to this and that, to make themselves not to apply to be like them. You see, Jesus came to teach everybody how to be like. It's okay for everybody. Everybody can be like Jesus. Mm-hmm. But what we do is we say, well, no, you are that and we are that, because you're so different. You're extra something. You never have to apply yourself. It's like if I say, well, somebody's a marathon runner and they have got so many capabilities, a superhero, Superman, and I cannot do it. I never have to. I can. My ego can be at rest, not trying anything. And that is a way our ego plays with us. Of course, energetically, Jesus' vibration was very high, and then we are not everybody the same. However, we are not as inferior as we think we are.
So can I say that some people who, let's talk about Jesus because we're using him as an example. Some people who experienced Jesus and felt that he was in higher dimensions or higher awareness, that was just their experience for that time. But it doesn't mean that they're not able to be like Jesus in the next one, in the next lifetime, or even in that lifetime. So what is the point?
No, I'm just today just correcting your question. No, actually they couldn't be like Jesus.
Okay, why?
Not even the next one. Because vibrationally it was just very different.
So what makes the difference between them and Jesus?
Different vibration, different frequency.
Of soul?
Yeah. That's how it is.
Aha.
You see this, as I said, the soul, the part of the vibration of the universe that we are relating to, that we call our soul, is at different level. And certain vibration allows us to be more connected to a higher realms, a higher dimensions, understanding, and higher dimensions. So we look at things differently, and some people, most people, are related to different frequencies that they are not so much in their higher realms. That frequency um, make them to be run on the lower dimension most of the time. See, that is how, and nobody can do anything about it. Nobody can change anything really. Nobody can change their vibration.
So their vibration is always the same in every lifetime. It's the same frequency.
No. Let me explain. Actually, I use an example always to explain this part because it's very difficult to explain. You see, let's say the power of your vibration is like a lens. You see, let's say your soul, or the power of your vibration is like a lens, and each of us are born with that lens. Some of us have a very powerful lens that you can, the sun can go through it and cut through anything. And other ones is not as powerful. When the sun goes through it, I use sun because it's not sun really. It's
light.
The terminology of a lens, the energy, the universal energy, the part that we are connecting to, and we can burn a paper. If you put bunch of weak lens exactly focused at a specific point, it does the same thing as a one powerful lens does. That's how the prayer works.
Right.
For people bring attention to one thing, one focus.
Collective.
So each person curvature is set. So from the day you were born to the day you die, you have the same lens and you have the same energetic vibration and the same power. And next lifetime you will have another one. But the way it works is that
another one or the same one?
No, different lens, different power of lens. Your lens is gonna be more powerful next life. Each life is gonna be more powerful than the one before. And however, if you have the most powerful lens and it's dirty and it's muddy, nothing go through it. Our life, our physical life, is a process of
cleaning the lens.
Cleaning the lens. So in our life, we start from certain curvature and certain. It's not dirt. That's the only way I can explain. Transparency of that lens, and by the end of our life, that lens that we have, it becomes fully transparent, and then the next one we get more powerful, but a little bit more less transparent, and then that's how it works. That's how life and the lens work together. That's the best analogy that I can put together.
Yeah, it makes sense. I've heard this one before from you.
Okay.
And I always love the way you explain it. Because it brings a lot of clarity. Okay, so that makes sense. I think a lot of people will understand that also. I'm not the only one. Thing is, now, if you have this lens, why does it become dirty?
Yeah, again, all those questions that I won't answer. I didn't say dirty. Did I say dirty?
Well, it's not clear.
But that's the process. You see, if you have a cherry tree and you plant it, why doesn't it fruit?
Right, it just is.
It's time for it to fruit when it needs to, and that's how it is. Some trees fruit a year later after they planted, some other 8 years later. Why is that? These are all how it is.
So
each of our physical relation relates, connected to different energetic vibration, and that energetic vibration mandate that physical, and that is that format. That's how it is.
Okay.
That's why something in certain frequency make it blue, another frequency make it green. That's how it is.
Okay. So when the lens gets clear, Is that an awakening?
No.
What is that? What does that
What's
mean?
awakening? Well, first I'll tell me what's awakening, then I answer you. Well, awakening is what? Awakening to what? Awakening to me is something was sleeping and now it's not sleeping. Awaken to
Yeah.
what? Awaken to things beyond what awakening to our ignorance that we have. Well,
Yeah.
is a process, and from time to time in that process there is a jump.
Yeah.
That you might call it awakening, and there time to time is more stagnant. It's a process.
Yeah.
It's not a one simple
That's right.
scenario.
Yeah.
And it's just how it is, and it's beyond an awakening or any awakening.
But it is part of the. I mean, that's how people relate to it. The cleaning of the lens is awakening.
Most people do not relate to it at all, actually. Most people do not. It happens to everybody. 99% of the people in the world do not relate to the process of growth in their journey. They just see life as a bunch of things and tasks they have to do, and they successful or not, and they did it right or not. And there is time to time that there is an energetic jump in somebody's journey, and if this energetic jump is way advanced for somebody who has got very powerful lens, they can relate to that as an awakening. But if the lens wasn't powerful to start with, they wouldn't even relate to it. They're just totally ignorant of anything that happens. And we've been doing it for thousands of years, and we're still going to do that.
Will there be a time where we won't?
Well, as I said, awakening, it is a relation that we relate to. There will be a time that we don't need to relate to anything.
Right.
If we don't relate to anything, then we don't. You're not awakened, not because you're not awakened, because we're fully awakened. We don't even, if I'm sitting here and looking at everything and fully awake in my fully awake in a physical way, I don't even relate to being awake. But the moment in the morning that I got up from one reality to this reality of a sleeping, then I look at that awakening, that moment.
Yes.
So if you're fully there, what is awakening? Awakening is just from one situation to another.
Yes.
And if I'm fully here, I'm not sleeping. What is to awake?
The reason why you speak like this is because you're relating it. I'm relating it towards time, and you're not. You're just looking at it as in the now.
Well, I am relating to our time too. I mean, I got up this morning, but I'm now. There's no process every day I get up. I get up. It's not something to look at it that way. And speaking of time, I can relate to time very well because I only have 2% left on my battery, and here I don't have a plug.
So then that leads us to say goodbye.
Well, that leads whatever it leads to, but eventually everybody will say goodbye.
Yeah.
And everything is temporary, and nothing is permanent. So it's just how you relate to time.
Okay. Let's say goodbye before your battery runs out. Have a good day, Abdi. Till next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.